Hey cat lovers, and welcome back to another video. One of the hardest experiences to have as a cat owner is when your pet dies. Grieving is a long, complicated process that looks different for everyone. Alongside the grieving process, there are some important decisions that every cat owner needs to make when their beloved companion passes away. These include disposal options, memorial plans, and choosing the best path for your grief. All of these decisions will help ease the process of losing your beloved pet. If you enjoy this kind of content, consider subscribing to the channel for more cat videos. Now let's discuss what to do when your cat dies and how to cope with your loss. Disposal. One of the most difficult and immediate decisions that you need to make when your cat dies is what to do with the body. Since this decision is so important yet never timely, it's a good idea to plan it out beforehand. Sadly, if your cat dies unexpectedly, this may not be possible. However, if your cat is elderly or has a terminal illness, you should consider developing disposal plans prior to their death to ease the burden on yourself later. It can be somewhat of a complicated process since there are laws governing your options. You may find it easier to get assistance from your veterinarian. When it comes to disposal, there are several different options available to you. The most common ones are burial, cremation, and taxidermy. Burial. If you decide that burying your cat is the right option for you, you'll need to decide on a location. Many pet owners choose to bury their pets in designated pet cemeteries. This is typically the simpler option as there is more assistance available. Ask your vet about pet cemeteries in your area to find the right one for you. If you choose not to use a pet cemetery, your other option is an at-home burial. Though there are some benefits to home burials, including the close proximity and personalization of the burial, there are also some downsides to consider. If you want to bury your cat at home, you need to make sure that there are no laws in place prohibiting at-home burials in your area. This is not uncommon, and you do not want to incur fines or legal issues, so it's important to do research beforehand. However, if burying at home is okay, then it may be the easiest of options. To mark your beloved friend's spot, you can purchase an engraved pet headstone just as a formal cemetery would. Just keep in mind that home burials are typically only appropriate if you have an outdoor area that is not shared with others. For example, shared apartment gardens are typically not the right place to bury your animal. Also, you should consider the possibility of you moving in the future and having to leave your cat behind. So it's important to understand that home burials are not the best option for everyone. But regardless of whether or not you choose to bury your cat in a pet cemetery or at home, burial is a good option that can provide some solace and comfort to grieving pet owners. Cremation. Cremation is the process of reducing the body to ashes through the process of burning. If you decide that you would like to cremate your cat's body, you should discuss it with your vet or cremation companies. They can provide more in-depth information about the process and help you set up a time. You'll likely be able to choose between communal cremation or individual cremation. Communal cremation would involve your cat's body being cremated alongside the bodies of other deceased pets. These combined ashes would be disposed of after the fact. However, if you'd like to keep your cat's ashes, communal cremation is not the right option for you. Despite being more expensive, individual cremation may be a better choice for you. In an individual cremation, your cat's body will be cremated alone. This way, you can receive its ashes afterwards. This is a popular option as it allows pet owners to choose what to do with their cat's ashes. Many cat owners decide to keep their cat's ashes in an engraved box or urn to memorialize its life. Others choose to spread their cat's ashes in an outdoor location, usually somewhere special and personal. This can be a great way to mourn your cat and memorialize it. Burying ashes is also not uncommon, as well as incorporating ashes into personal property. Overall, individual cremation gives cat owners a lot of choice when it comes to how they mourn. While it may not be the right choice for everyone, it's definitely something to consider. Taxidermy. Taxidermy is a more unconventional option than burial or cremation. It's not for everyone, but some may find that it's the right path for them to mourn their cat and comfort them on their grieving journey. Taxidermy involves replicating the look of a living animal by preparing and displaying its remains. The organs and bodily features that decompose are removed and replaced with an external product, typically stuffing of some kind. The cat's skin is maintained, however, and arranged over the stuffing to resemble the living cat as closely as possible. Those who taxidermy their cat usually choose to display it at their home as a form of memorabilia. This option appeals to some because of its permanence and close resemblance to their cat when it was alive. If you're interested in taxidermy, ask your vet about it. They will likely be able to provide you with more information and refer you to a company. Just note that taxidermy tends to be expensive. It can cost thousands of dollars to have a professional taxidermy service completed. Coping with grief. After losing a beloved pet, moving on can be incredibly hard. After all, pets are family too. So the grieving process can be a difficult time. However, it's important to try to healthily manage your grief. There are many resources available for grieving pet owners, so know that you are not alone in this journey. Do not hesitate to reach out to loved ones or even support groups for comfort and aid while you grieve. Understanding grief. Many people find solace in understanding their grief and being able to identify the many feelings they'll be experiencing during this time. It's important to understand that your life has undergone a big change, which can be uncomfortable in any situation. Your cat has been a constant presence in your life for perhaps years. You'll likely feel their absence in every aspect of your daily life. It's also important to know that grief is a normal response to death. Though it's extremely painful and difficult, it is a natural process. Therefore, it's important to accept your grief for what it is: the sadness, the anger, the pain, all of it. Another part of grief is often guilt. Many cat owners feel guilty after their cat has passed away. It's normal to wonder if you could have done anything different or if you could have prevented your cat's death in any way. This is especially common following euthanasia. However, it's important to remember that euthanasia is performed to end your cat's suffering. Your cat understands that it was its time and that it was not in any pain. Euthanasia is a kind act despite how gut-wrenching it feels. If you're struggling with guilt, don't be afraid to reach out to someone for help. Reaching out to a therapist or counselor is a good option when coping with grief and guilt following your cat's death. The most important thing is coming to terms with your cat's death and forgiving yourself. Experiencing grief. After your cat has died, you may find yourself overwhelmed. There are several different stages that people experiencing grief may go through. The 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. You may not go through all of these phases, you may not go through them in order, and you may go through several stages more than once. There is no correct way or right order to grieve. However, many grieving people recognize these stages in their process. While you undergo your grieving process, you may find it difficult to do regular tasks like eating, sleeping, and interacting with the world around you. If this is the case, you must recognize that you do not have to go through it alone. Many people benefit from receiving professional help, and it's definitely something to look into. Professional therapists and counselors are grief experts and can provide you with comfort and help. Don't be afraid or ashamed of seeking help. It's also important to embrace and feel your grief. Your feelings are completely valid, and you should accept them for what they are. Be patient and gentle with yourself as you experience grief. Surround yourself with loved ones and support, and finally, know that you eventually will get through it. Though it may seem impossible at times, it will be okay eventually. Moving on. Moving on can seem unimaginable at times. Many pet owners are unable to see themselves moving on from a pet's death as their furry friend was so influential and special in their lives. However, it's important to recognize that moving on does not mean forgetting. You will never forget your furry friend, nor will you ever love them any less. Though the grief will fade and you will move on, your cat will always be with you in your heart. There are several things that cat owners can do to help them move on with their grief. Though many of these may be painful and invoke sadness, you may find them beneficial in the long run. For example, organizing an event where friends and family, or even just yourself, come together to remember your cat can be very helpful to the grieving process. As mentioned earlier, you can also visit your cat's grave regularly or spread their ashes somewhere that means something special to you and your cat. There are plenty of other ways to memorialize your cat. As more examples, you can collect their photos and make a scrapbook, or commission a piece of artwork in their image. Regardless of how you remember your cat, it'll always hold a special place in your heart. Being a cat owner is one of the most wonderful experiences in the world. There are so many beautiful things that cats bring to people's lives. However, the death of a beloved cat is something that almost all cat owners have to experience. Needless to say, losing a cat is incredibly painful and difficult. It's a time of mourning, grief, and remembrance. Regardless of how you handle your cat's body and experience your grief, it's important that you remember that you are not alone in this process. Be gentle with yourself, forgive yourself, and allow yourself to grieve in your own way. Though it is devastating to lose a cat, you will be okay. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up because it helps other cat lovers find our content. And as always, we would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next Catterday for another video.